stop emotional eating. So it's relation to relationship with food. So if you have a poor relationship with food, then your emotional eating is also a problem. So the goal for this session is to understand what emotional eating is and why it happens. And when we have emotional eating, when our score for emotional eating is high, then it always will affect our health because it means when you're feeling sad, feeling happy, feeling excited, you're going to eat and eat a lot. That will affect your weight, affect your sugars, affect your sleeping, and things like that. So we want to look at also identify personal triggers that can lead to emotional eating, learn strategies to manage emotions without turning to food. One of the dietitians who's always here, but she's taken a little break because she's busy with her PhD, Mildred, she always says the solution is never in the fridge when you have a problem, you know. Yeah. So then create a personal action plan for mindful and balanced eating or just really understand why you have emotional eating. So my first question to you is this. When you feel sad, stressed, or bored, what do you usually reach for? This is a question to everybody. You can post it on the charts. When you feel sad, when you feel stressed, when you feel bored, what do you reach for? Both men and women. Irene, what do you do when you feel sad? Yes, I can see them coming in.
Oh,
Yeah, Instagram, YouTube, and snacks, chocolate and fries, an interesting movie, my phone, sweet snacks, okay,
cup
remote
of
to watch
tea.
a funny movie, a cup of tea, walking. Yeah. So you can see we have both mixed. We have mixed, walk or start dancing. Wonderful. So we have mixed. We have good habits and then we have the bad habits. When we reach for food, that can be a problem. So well done. We have a mixed collection. Very, very good. So for those ones who are doing food, that's a question mark. For those who are doing watching something, exercising, well done. But if you're reaching for your phone, it depends on what time of the night. If it's late in the night and you're on your phone and you're watching a movie and that's also a problem perhaps, okay? So how does food make you feel after you've eaten for comfort? Or now that you're aware of food, you're aware of the carbohydrate amount you should have, the amount of vegetables you should have, what happens? How does food make you feel after you've eaten for comfort? Like you've eaten more than you should. How do you feel? You can read from me on the chat, Irene.
Uh, they, you feel too full.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, feel too full. Or
Mm-hmm.
usually you don't feel that good.
Mm-hmm.
After
Yeah.
that big bag of chips, while you're eating it, it feels okay. But after you've
Mm.
eaten it, you feel
Yes.
uncomfortable and bloated. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see, there's always that negative feeling that comes after. So if
Yeah.
it's guilty, then it's still bad. You're having a poor relationship with food. If it's bloating, why did you do it? You're too full. Do you need to be that full? So it's
Yeah.
actually just possible to eat small portions or portions that suit you and then just stay like that. So emotional eating happens when we use food to cope with feelings instead of hunger. You see, when you're hungry, you need to
Somebody
eat.
somebody
Yeah.
said a bit of self-loathing.
hmm Which is now serious and a problem. Okay. So this is why we were doing this topic because it's very important for us to understand. So thank you. So for this topic, we have a quiz. I have a quiz again. We have another quiz. So we have two sets of questions. So I want you to answer these questions for yourselves. Number one, do you have a healthy relationship with food? So remember, if you scored anything less than 3, that's a good relationship with food. If you scored up to 6, that's a fair relationship. Poor relationship. If you scored above 6, that's very poor relationship with food. So you can say, do you have a healthy relationship with food? Based on your score, you can put there. Thank you. Question 2, do you eat in line with your daily needs? Remember, we've taken you through carbohydrate intelligence, food portions, And the portion sizes, we also gave you a sliding scale, meaning if you're getting hungry too fast, then you could add vegetables, you could add some protein, but you stick to the amount of carbohydrates. So, and some are men, we have men and we have women, and your portions are different. And of course, also with your exercises, you know. So the question is, with all that knowledge that we provided for you, do you eat in line with your daily needs? Or are you still finding yourself eating more than you need, adding extra portions, feeling bad after that? Okay, so it's either a yes or a no. But this is also something for meditation. You can start journal, think about this and then say. Then the other question is, do you eat when and only when it is needed? Maybe we are encouraging you to eat 2 meals a day. You know, last time I watched the program, I think somebody was snacking a lot, but looks like you're doing better. Yes, so when we snack too much, snack on chocolate, snack on sweet, snack, then something is not right. Either we are giving you, you're having very little, and so you're craving. So you're not having sufficient intake of carbs. And some people sometimes, because they're feeling like, oh, they've learned about carbs, but they're thinking, oh my goodness, that is so much sugar. So then they eliminate carbohydrates. No, you cannot eliminate foods because that is not going to be sustainable. Next. Are you able to stop eating when you have met your daily needs? Like, sometimes you serve with your eyes, then you have feeling full. So do you stop or do you continue? Yes. Then we have the second set of questions. Do you have no hold over your eating behavior? Remember, the other question is, do you stop when you've met your needs? Or do you have no hold over your eating behavior? Like you can just eat and you continue, you don't know when to stop. Do you find yourself battling back and forth when it comes to food? Like, should I not? Should I? Or you're just thinking about food? I think that's clear. Do you eat something you don't find healthy because you can't control your eating? And maybe it's a habit, Do you use emotionally charged words to describe food, even though food has no feelings for you? I think you did that under relationship with food, but it's also part of emotional eating. Oh, I love this food. Oh, or I love this food, Do you use emotionally charged words? I think we're done. So I don't know what your score is, but this time round, we don't need to really count the scores. Those questions are for us to meditate and see what we can do better. Like think about it and even write for yourself. What do you actually do? What are your habits? So the power to overcome emotional eating actually lies on you. Yes. So we have different steps that I'm going to discuss to help you to deal with emotional eating. First of all, you have to identify your triggers. What is your trigger? Sometimes, is it stress? Okay. Is it frustration? Is it boredom? Is it guilt? Is it happiness? I think sometimes I emotionally eat when I'm happy because when I'm happy, then I treat myself to piece of cake. I'm a ruler and coffee is my weakest link. Yeah? But most of the time I'm a salty tooth. That's what I tend. So I look for things that are salty, so very salty stuff, which is sometimes not good. Yeah. So depression, yes. And so, of course, if you're depressed, then we need to get help, We need to get help. We need to talk to somebody. We need to literally get help. And I was happy to see that Victor already went for his evaluation. And he even shared a receipt with us. Well done, Victor. And so if you haven't gone for evaluation, we're asking you to go. Please note that we pay 50% of this, So if you have not done your evaluation, we'd encourage you to go. It is very, very helpful. So if your trigger is depression, then you need to manage it. If it's social, some people drink a lot because they're interacting with people. They eat a lot because they're interacting with people. So we want to identify our triggers and then think about it. Why is this always the trigger? If it is something to do with depression, feeling sad, then you need to get help to deal with that. Step 2, we want you to understand why you eat in these situations. And for you to understand why you eat in these situations, and you know which situations, then you want to dig deeper. You want to ask yourself why, like 5 times. Why do you eat during those situations? That is one. Okay? For whatever answer comes up, continue to ask yourself why until you find the root cause. Because sometimes we are just managing the symptom. What is the root cause of the problem? So you have to identify, ask yourself why you're triggered to eat when you feel all these emotions. Okay? And so let's do like an example, all right? Why do I eat when I work even though I'm not hungry? Because I need to eat while I'm working. This was for a client, not in this season. I didn't get time to ask. Okay. Why? Then when you ask why again, it's because I can't work without food. You see the excuses. Okay. And then why, the third why again gives you another answer, because it's my source of life. Right? Then why again? Because then actually food is your companion. You're working, you're eating, So you find that it's the companion. And then when you ask why, because I feel empty without it. Then why again? Because I eat. Because when I eat, I feel love. But when you dig, then you find the underlying cause. Because for this particular participant, the underlying cause is because as they were growing up, food was always a reward. When they was young, the parents brought lots of food to show their love. They had always said it was important to eat to stay alive and healthy. Because of all the conditioning when I was young, I grew up with the notion that food equals love. And so they'll eat anytime. So what is your why? Okay, remember from lesson 1, what is your why? So, but you have to ask why like so many times for you to get the root cause problem. So in other words, dig deeper. Take a question, ask yourself why so many times till there is nothing more to write. So that was step 2. Step 1 is identify this trigger. Step 2 is to dig deeper and understand why you get that emotion. Step 3, now identifying how you will plan to restore a healthy relationship with food or stop emotional eating. So what do you need to do? So give yourself whatever answer you get in the dig deeper section, all right? What can you do moving forward to develop a healthy relationship with food? Yes. So for this particular participant, moving forward was, okay, really, I cannot be eating all the time because it's affecting my weight, it's affecting my health. Because I know, imagine when people were working home during COVID, by the time we went back to work, people had gained so much weight because you're just always, even I don't like to work from home because I want to eat something, then I want to cook something, then I'm just thinking about food. So I leave the house, I go and work in the office and then come back. So what can you do moving forward to develop a healthy relationship with food? So in those questions that we've asked, where is your weakest link? Then you want to develop this, okay? Then you want to list down your key action steps. Yes. See food for what it is, something to sustain life versus a companion or friend. The food is not a friend, so it cannot be a companion. So when you start thinking of food as a companion, we are getting into emotional issues, and then you're always going to end up eating more than we should. So do your digging exercises, and yeah, okay? Love me more versus using food as a tool for self-love. Love yourself more. Give yourself life, okay? So in other words, we can stop emotional eating. The results may not be immediate, but keep working on it, keep thinking, ask yourself why. And if you notice, I've been asking you why questions about your sugars. That's not to do with emotional eating, but it's still the same thing. What is your why? So why do you think your sugar? We've already taught you why you would get a low sugar. You already know the numbers, 1 after meal, 2 hours after meal, fasting pre-meal. So why is your fasting still high? You need to be able to know how to answer that question. So also, why are you doing emotional eating? You need to be able to answer that. So the results might not be detailed, but it's a lifestyle. So we keep going and we keep going. And stop emotional eating. DTLC team loves you, and we want you to continue to work on yourself and get better. And remember that your genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger.
So the next topic is how to start practicing conscious eating. And we'll start by just defining what that means. What is conscious eating? Also known as mindful eating, is paying close attention to your food and your eating experience rather than eating just on autopilot or mindless eating, not thinking about it. You just eat without thinking. It involves being aware of your body's hunger and fullness cues, the taste of your food, the texture of your food, and also the environment. And the goal is to develop a more healthy relationship with food. Examples of mindless versus mindful eating. This is very, so eating past full or ignoring your body's signals versus listening to your body and you stop when you're full. Another example of mindless eating is eating when emotions tell us to, which was already mentioned, like boredom, sadness, stress, versus eating when body is telling us to eat. So is your stomach growling? Is your energy low? So then you eat, not rather than eating for emotional reasons. Eating alone at random times and places. So, for example, eating late at night in front of the television, alone, with a bag of chips, or versus eating with others at set times and places. Mindless eating is eating foods that are emotionally comforting, but not necessarily good for you. So again, if you're sitting there with a big jug of ice cream, you could be using that for emotional reasons versus eating foods that are nutritionally healthy. Eating and multitasking. So this involves, say, you're at your computer, you have your variety of snacks on the table, and you're mindlessly eating while you're working on the computer. The other, alternatively, eating and just eating, sitting down to eat, considering a meal an end product rather than considering where that food actually comes from. So some examples of mindless eating include, I mentioned this earlier, eating an entire container of ice cream while watching a movie without realizing how much you consumed. You could find yourself eating the whole container with probably hundreds of teaspoons of sugar and fat and calories, or grabbing snacks throughout the day without feeling genuinely hungry. So why are you picking up that bag of chips? Or even that, going to the fridge, looking in the fridge, seeing what can I eat? Do you really need that? And asking yourself, why are you doing that? Eating quickly without savoring the taste or texture of the food. Sometimes I find myself doing this. When I'm ravenous, I haven't eaten all day, I'm starving. I find myself, first of all, I end up serving way too much food. And I find that I'm eating it so quick that within 5 minutes, I'm done. So clearly, I'm not really savoring the food and thinking about what I'm eating. Finishing food on your plate even when you're no longer hungry, just because it's there. So this is actually a really big thing because it takes your brain a while to register that you're full. So if especially when people eat and then they quickly go for seconds, if you just waited a few minutes, you might find that you don't actually need to eat because suddenly your brain has registered that you're full And I've found that with myself many times where I said, oh, maybe I need seconds, maybe I need seconds. And then I realized I don't. So it's important, some important tips for mindful eating. Pay attention to your body signals, such as hunger and fullness. Why are you eating? Are you truly hungry? Use your senses, sight, smell, taste, and touch to fully experience your food. Eat slowly, chew thoroughly, savor each bite, and avoid rushing your meals. Honor hunger and fullness. Stop eating when you're full. And ideally, halfway is great. And also be aware of your plate size. So if you're portioning your food on a gigantic plate, chances are you're eating too many calories. Other important tips, reflect on your choices. Consider whether the food you've chosen is nourishing to your body. Are you picking out junk food? Are you picking out healthy choices? Eliminating distractions from, for example, turning off the TV and putting down your phone. These are important tips for mindful eating, because when you're watching TV and you're on your phone, your chances are you're not thinking about what you're consuming or how much. Eating in a designated space like the kitchen or the dining table, and not at your desk in front of the TV or while driving in your car. So imagine you're sitting in the traffic in Nairobi and you have your KFC with French fries. Chances are you're not thinking about the quantities you're consuming. Mm. Eating is better to be in silence or with soft music in the background. Mm-hmm. Some of the benefits of mindful eating: it creates awareness of your body's personal hunger signals, and then that helps you develop. It also helps you develop healthy eating environments.
So this is what we want to leave you with: the mindful eating cycle. Why, when, what, where, how much, and how. All right, to think about. So remember, by changing nothing, nothing changes.